The bar pulsed with a low hum, a heartbeat of neon and shadow that seemed to throb in time with the bass vibrating through the floor. A man leaned against the counter, his fingers tracing the rim of a half-empty glass, the amber liquid catching flickers of light like a secret waiting to be spilled. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the room, not searching, but hunting. Across the crowd, a woman laughed, her voice cutting through the chatter like a blade. Her head tilted back, hair spilling over her shoulders. She wasn't just a face in the crowd. She was a spark, a challenge, a puzzle that begged to be solved. The man didn't move, didn't flinch, but a faint smile curled at the edge of his lips. He knew something the others didn't. The game wasn't about charm or looks or even words. It was about power, subtle, calculated, and deliberate. The room buzzed with bodies, voices overlapping in a chaotic symphony of clinking glasses and half-hearted pickup lines. A guy in a too-tight shirt approached her, his confidence a brittle mask, his words stumbling over themselves. She smiled politely, but her eyes drifted, already dismissing him before he finished his sentence. Another tried his luck, louder, flashier, his gestures wide and desperate. The same result, a flicker of amusement, then indifference. The man at the bar watched it all, his stillness a stark contrast to the frenetic energy around him. He wasn't here to compete. He wasn't here to beg. He was here to win, not her heart, but her attention, her curiosity, her desire. And he knew exactly how to do it. What did he know that the others didn't? Why did the air around him seem to hum with a different kind of energy, as if he held the strings to a game no one else could see? The answer lies in the name most associated with cunning and conquest, not candlelit dinners or coy smiles. Niccolo Machiavelli. Yes, the Renaissance philosopher, the master of strategy, the man who wrote the playbook on power. His principles, born in the course of 16th century Italy, aren't just for politics or war. They're a blueprint for navigating the human heart, for turning fleeting glances into lasting intrigue, for making flirting not a gamble but a science. And the truth is simpler than you think. It's child's play when you know the rules. Machiavelli wasn't a romantic, but he understood people. He understood desire, fear, and the invisible threads that bind one person to another. Flirting, at its core, isn't about love or even attraction. It's about influence. It's about shaping someone's perception, guiding their emotions, and leading them exactly where you want them to go. The man at the bar wasn't born with this knowledge. He wasn't a natural charmer, didn't have movie star looks or a silver tongue. But he studied the game, stripped it down to its bones, and rebuilt it with precision. He learned that flirting isn't about being liked, it's about being unforgettable. And tonight, he was going to prove it. The woman glanced his way, her eyes catching his for a fraction of a second. It was enough. He didn't wave, didn't nod, didn't rush to fill the space between them with words. He held her gaze, his expression unreadable, a silent question hanging in the air. She looked away, but her smile faltered, replaced by something else. Curiosity, maybe, or the faintest hint of unease. That was his opening, his first move in a game she didn't even know she was playing. Machiavelli would have approved. Power, he wrote, is about perception, not force. And perception is built in the quiet moments, the ones that linger like a shadow in the mind. What makes a moment like that? What turns a glance into a spark, a conversation into a dance? It's not luck, it's not chance. It's strategy, cold, clear, and deliberate. The man at the bar wasn't just flirting, he was orchestrating. He was weaving a spell, not with flowers or flattery, but with the oldest trick in the book, control. Control of himself, control of the moment, control of her attention. And the secret? It's not as hard as it seems. Flirting, when you break it down, is a game of signals and responses, of push and pull, of knowing when to advance and when to retreat. It's a game anyone can learn, anyone can master, if they're willing to think like Machiavelli. This isn't about manipulation for its own sake. It's about understanding human nature, about seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Machiavelli didn't believe in ideals. He believed in results. And tonight, in this crowded bar, Under the flicker of neon and the hum of possibility, the man at the bar was about to show the world how it's done. The woman wasn't just a stranger across the room anymore. She was a player in his game, and the board was set. All he had to do was make his move. The first lesson Machiavelli teaches isn't about words or gestures. It's about mindset. The man at the bar didn't walk into the room hoping to be liked. He walked in knowing he'd be noticed. That's the difference. Most people approach flirting like a plea, a desperate bid for approval. They dress to impress, rehearse their lines, and pray they don't stumble. But Machiavelli, he'd scoff at that. To him, power begins with self-possession. You don't flirt to win someone's affection. You flirt to command their attention. And attention, once captured, is a currency more valuable than gold. Think about the bar again. The woman laughing, her presence pulling eyes like a magnet. The men around her were trying too hard, their eagerness a neon sign, flashing insecurity. They were playing checkers, reacting to her every move, hoping to guess what she wanted. The man at the bar, he was playing chess. Every glance, every pause, every subtle shift in his posture was a move calculated to shift the balance of power. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be both a lion and a fox bold when needed, cunning always. Flirting demands the same duality. You must be confident enough to stand out, clever enough to stay unpredictable. This mindset flips the script on everything you've been taught about flirting. Forget the rom-com cliches, the bumbling charm, the nervous compliments. Those are tools of the weak, Machiavelli would say. The strong don't chase, they attract. The man at the bar wasn't chasing the woman. He was drawing her in, creating a vacuum she couldn't help but feel. His stillness, his restraint, his refusal to rush toward her, these weren't accidents. They were deliberate. They signaled control, and control is magnetic. Machiavelli's first principle is simple. People are drawn to those who seem to need them least. Neediness repels, independence attracts. The man at the bar didn't need her to smile at him, didn't need her to laugh at his jokes or validate his existence. He was complete in himself, a closed system, radiating quiet strength. When he finally moved, crossing the room with a slow, deliberate stride, it wasn't because he was desperate to talk to her. It was because he chose to. That choice, that sense of agency, is the foundation of everything that follows. But how do you cultivate that mindset? It starts with stripping away the lies you've been told. Flirting isn't about being the loudest, the funniest, or the most attractive person in the room. It's about being the most intentional. Every move you make, every word you say should serve a purpose. The man at the bar didn't approach her with a rehearsed line. He didn't need to. He'd already caught her attention with his silence, his presence, his refusal to blend into the crowd. When he spoke, it wasn't to impress her, it was to intrigue her. "You seem like someone who doesn't waste time," he said, his voice low, his eyes locked on hers. Not a compliment, not a question, but a challenge, a spark. Machiavelli would have nodded in approval. In The Prince, he writes that fortune favors the bold, but only when boldness is tempered by calculation. The man's words weren't random. They were a test, a way to gauge her response, to see if she'd rise to the bait or shrink from it. She didn't shrink. Her eyes narrowed slightly, a smile tugging at her lips as she leaned forward. "And you seem like someone who knows how to waste mine," she shot back. The game was on. Flirting, at its core, is a power struggle. Not the cruel kind, fought with shouting or posturing, but a subtle dance of influence and control. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. In his world, power wasn't about force, it was about perception. The man at the bar wasn't trying to overpower the woman. He was shaping how she saw him, guiding her emotions with the precision of a sculptor chiseling marble. This is where most people falter. They think flirting is about making someone like you. It's not. It's about making them feel something, anything, as long as it's intense and unforgettable. Psychological domination doesn't mean manipulation in the sleazy sense. It means understanding what drives people, what makes their hearts race or their minds pause. Women, like men, are wired for intrigue. They respond to tension, to mystery, to the sense that there's more beneath the surface than meets the eye. The man at the bar didn't bombard her with compliments or try to dazzle her with wit. He gave her just enough to keep her guessing. His words were sparse, his tone measured, but every sentence carried weight. "I bet you've heard every line in the book tonight," he said, leaning back slightly, his eyes glinting with amusement. "So why are you still here?" The question wasn't just banter, it was a psychological jab, a way to shift the dynamic. By implying she had a choice, he forced her to confront it. Why was she still there? Most men would have filled the silence with nervous chatter, but he let it hang, let her feel the weight of her own curiosity. Machiavelli would call this a calculated risk, a move to unsettle her, to pull her out of her comfort zone. And it worked. She tilted her head, her smile sharper now, more engaged. "Maybe I'm waiting for something worth staying for," she said. Checkmate. This is the essence of psychological domination, creating moments that demand a response. Flirting isn't a monologue, it's a dialogue, a chess match where every move provokes a counter move. The man didn't just talk at her, he invited her to play. And play she did, because humans are drawn to challenge, to the thrill of not knowing what comes next. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must inspire both fear and love, but never indifference. In flirting, indifference is the enemy. The man at the bar wasn't trying to make her love him. He was making sure she couldn't ignore him. How do you do this in practice? It starts with observation. The man had watched her all night, not in a creepy way, but with the focus of a strategist studying a battlefield. He noticed how she deflected compliments, how her laugh was genuine but guarded, how her eyes scanned the room for something or someone worth her time. He used that knowledge to craft his approach, to say exactly what would pierce her defenses. Machiavelli would call this knowing your terrain. You don't flirt with a woman as an abstract idea. You flirt with this woman in this moment, with all her quirks and contradictions. The conversation deepened. She asked him what he did, and he deflected with a sly grin. "I solve problems," he said, leaving it vague enough to spark her imagination. When she pressed, he turned the question back on her. "What about you? What kind of trouble do you stir up?" Again, a challenge, not a plea. Every word was a hook, pulling her deeper into the interaction, making her invest. This is the heart of psychological domination. You don't chase her attention, you make her give it to you. Machiavelli didn't just write about power, he wrote about how to wield it in a crowd. Flirting doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's a performance, played out on the stage of social dynamics, where every glance, every gesture is a signal to the room. The man at the bar wasn't just engaging the woman, he was engaging everyone watching. His calm, his confidence, his refusal to fawn over her sent a message. This is a man who doesn't need to try. And that message was as much for her as it was for the others. Social mastery is about understanding the invisible currents that flow through any group. People are always watching, judging, comparing. The man at the bar knew this. When he approached her, he didn't slink through the crowd or have her awkwardly. He moved with purpose, his shoulders squared, his pace unhurried. It wasn't just about reaching her. It was about how the room saw him as he did. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must always appear in control, even when he isn't. In flirting, appearance is everything, not how you look, but how you carry yourself. One tactic stood out. He didn't isolate her immediately. Most men would have tried to pull her away from her friends, to monopolize her attention, not him. He acknowledged her group with a nod, a quick quip that made them laugh, drawing them into his orbit without losing focus on her. This was deliberate. By winning over her friends, he neutralized any resistance, made himself a known quantity rather than a threat. Machiavelli would call this securing your flanks before advancing. You don't just flirt with a woman, you flirt with the context she's in. As the conversation unfolded, he used another tactic, controlled scarcity. He didn't linger too long, didn't let the interaction drag. After a few minutes of sharp, playful banter, he excused himself with a cryptic smile. "I'll let you get back to your night," he said, his tone implying there was more to come. He didn't ask for her number, didn't beg for another moment. He left her wanting, left the door open for her to pursue. This is straight out of Machiavelli's playbook. Never give everything away. Always hold something back. Mystery is power. Later, when he saw her again near the dance floor, he didn't rush over. He let her notice him first, let her make the choice to approach, and she did. not because he was the loudest or the flashiest, but because he planted a seed of intrigue that she couldn't shake. Social mastery isn't about dominating the room, it's about dominating the moment, making every interaction feel like it matters. Machiavelli never wrote about women specifically, but his insights into human nature cut straight to the heart of desire. Women, like men, are driven by a complex mix of instinct and calculation. Flirting isn't about appealing to their conscious wants, it's about tapping into the deeper currents of their psychology. The man at the bar understood this. He wasn't trying to be her dream guy. He was trying to be the one she couldn't stop thinking about. What do women want? It's the oldest question, and the answer is both simpler and more complex than most think. At its core, desire is about tension. It's about the push and pull of familiarity and mystery, safety and danger, certainty and doubt. The man at the bar didn't shower her with compliments or try to prove his worth. He created tension. His words were playful but sharp, his demeanor warm but distant. He gave her just enough to feel safe, but not enough to feel secure. That uncertainty, that edge, is what makes desire burn. Machiavelli wrote that people are ruled by two primary emotions, love and fear. In flirting, love is the warmth of connection, the spark of shared laughter or a fleeting touch. Fear isn't terror, it's the fear of missing out. The fear that this moment, this person, might slip away. The man at the bar played both sides. He made her laugh, made her feel seen, but he also made her wonder, would he walk away? Was he as interested as she was? That doubt, carefully cultivated, was his greatest weapon. He also understood the power of contrast. Most men in the room were predictable, too eager, too obvious. He was different. His restraint stood out against their desperation, his confidence against their insecurity. Women are drawn to contrast because it signals depth, complexity, something worth exploring. When he teased her about her sharp wit, calling it dangerous, he wasn't just flirting, he was framing her as a challenge, someone worth engaging on a deeper level. And when she fired back, matching his energy, he rewarded her with a genuine smile, a moment of connection that felt earned. This is where most men fail. They try to be everything at once, funny, charming, attentive, without leaving room for mystery. The man at the bar knew better. He gave her glimpses of who he was, never the full picture. He let her imagination fill in the gaps, let her wonder what lay behind his calm exterior. Machiavelli would call this the art of seeming, approachable but untouchable, familiar but unknowable. It's a delicate balance, but when done right, it's irresistible. As the night wore on, the man at the bar and the woman were no longer strangers. They were partners in a dance, each step deliberate, each glance loaded with meaning. This is where flirting becomes art. It's not about the words anymore, it's about the rhythm, the ebb and flow of emotion that binds two people together. Machiavelli understood that power is fleeting unless it's sustained, and the man at the bar was a master at sustaining it. Emotional domination doesn't mean control in the crude sense. It means guiding the interaction, setting the tone, deciding when to pull back and when to lean in. He didn't overwhelm her with attention. He dosed it carefully, like a chef seasoning a dish. When she laughed too easily, he challenged her with a raised eyebrow. When she grew quiet, he softened, sharing a story that felt personal but revealed little. Every move was calibrated to keep her engaged, to keep the tension alive. One moment stood out. They were standing closer now, the crowd fading into the background. She mentioned a trip she'd taken, a fleeting reference to a city she loved. Most men would have nodded, moved on. He didn't. He leaned in, his voice low, and said, "That place changes you, doesn't it? You don't come back the same." It wasn't a question, it was a statement, one that made her pause, her eyes searching his. He'd taken a small detail and turned it into a moment of connection, a shared understanding that felt intimate without being forced. This is a dance, knowing when to mirror her energy, when to challenge it, when to pull her in, and when to let her chase. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must adapt to the moment, never cling to a single strategy. The man at the bar was doing just that. He wasn't following a script, he was reading her, adjusting his approach with every shift in her mood. When she teased him, he teased back, but never cruelly. When she opened up, he listened, but never fawned. He He was present, fully present, in a way that made her feel like the only person in the room. And yet, he never lost control. Even as the night deepened, even as their conversation grew warmer, more electric, he kept a piece of himself back. He didn't confess his feelings or lay his cards on the table. He let her wonder, let her invest, let her want more. This is the ultimate lesson of emotional domination. The person who cares less holds the power, not because they're cold, but because they're disciplined. The man at the bar wasn't heartless, he was strategic, and that strategy made him unforgettable. The night ended with a quiet exchange of numbers, a smile that lingered a little too long, a promise of something more. The man at the bar didn't leave with a conquest or a trophy. He left with a victory won, built on strategy, patience, and an unshakable understanding of human nature. The woman wasn't just charmed, she was captivated, not by his looks or his lines, but by the way he made her feel alive, seen, challenged, desired. This is what Machiavelli teaches us. Flirting isn't about tricks or gimmicks. It's about power, the power to shape how someone sees you, to guide their emotions, to leave them wanting more. The man at the bar wasn't born with this power. He built it, piece by piece, through observation, discipline, and a willingness to see the world through Machiavelli's lens. He didn't chase her, he led her. He didn't beg for her attention, he commanded it. And in doing so, he turned flirting into something more than a game. It became a transformation. You can do this too. The principles are simple, but they demand courage. Stop seeking approval. Seek influence. Stop chasing. Start leading. Stop trying to be liked. Start being unforgettable. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to teach men how to flirt, but his lessons are universal. Power, in any form, comes from understanding people how they think, what they want, what makes them tick. Flirting is just one battlefield, but the rules are the same. The man at the bar walked out into the night, the neon glow fading behind him. He didn't look back, didn't need to. He knew she'd be thinking about him, replaying their conversation, wondering what might come next. That's the power of flirting, downright not a fleeting moment, but a spark that lingers, a memory that burns. You don't need to be a prince or a poet to make this happen. You just need to think like Machiavelli. And when you do, flirting becomes what it always should have been, child's play. If this video flipped a switch in your head, if it made you see flirting or even life in a new light, don't just sit there, hit that subscribe button right now. You're not just joining a channel, you're joining a movement, a way of thinking that cuts through the noise and gets results. Drop a like if you felt that spark, if you're ready to take these ideas and make them your own, and in the comments, tell me what's one move you're going to steal from Machiavelli's playbook. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's ready to stop chasing and start leading. Let's build something bigger together. See you in the next one.